Well, welcome, Karl Smith. I've been excited to have you on after I've
Thank
heard
you.
your story. Personally, I've done a fair bit of work with the New South Wales Police Force and Australian police psychologists, so I know how difficult that hurdle can be
Yeah.
for somebody who's had a history such as yours to open up to the world of hypnosis and energy and all the weird sort of things that we deal with.
Yeah.
So I'd love for everybody to hear your story about what got you to this point where you're at today.
Okay, so I was born. I'm going to mention where I was born first because it comes in quite handy. I was born in a place called Great Yarmouth in the United Kingdom, which is a seaside holiday resort. And many years ago, probably about 30 odd years ago now, I went to see my first stage hypnotist. And I used to have a stage hypnotist there all the time. And I was like, bloody, what's this? Nah, and you're sitting there as a young pup and you're sitting there going, I was 14, I think, 13, 14. I was sitting there with my mum and you're watching people doing these square eggs and thinking they're having babies and, they're riding horses. You're like, they're all drunk, So I was brought up in a seaside holiday resort and I decided enough was enough of selling donuts in my life and popcorn. So what I did is I eventually joined the British Army and I spent just shy of 12 years in the British Army. And then I went to all the places that your holiday representative won't send you to. I've been to all the sandy places. I've been to the Northern Islands, the Kosovos, the Bosnias. I've done, quite a lot of things. And I've seen the worst of humanity and the best of humanity during those travels. So, so I've seen all of that. I then decided enough was enough. I left the British Police and I'd spent 6 months in a transition phase of resettlement, trying to find out where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And eventually, I decided I was going to go into the police. And I planned it really well that I left the army, I left the British Army on a Friday, had one day off, and then joined the police force that I was joining at the time, which specialised in counter-terrorism and nuclear materials and stuff like that. It was quite an interesting job, really, a little bit different to what your mainstream policing is. The same as a normal police officer, but we went straight into firearms, we looked after nuclear materials and stuff like that. And it was a really interesting job. And I started that in 2005, yes, it was 2005, 2006, I think it was, that I started my journey within the police. And it wasn't long into my police journey that I was really enjoying it. It wasn't about nicking people. It's not about that, to be brutally honest. I was more interested in driving around the fast cars and all that type of stuff. To be quite honest, I was always a naughty boy, so I could never nick people I could never arrest people. I couldn't. I was like, oh, I've done that before. I loved it because I could bring common sense to it. And August the 4th, 2006, was the turning point in my life. So in my army career, I'd always wanted to join the army because my mum's side especially, were all military. So I grew up with all of these stories of traveling the world and doing all these funky things. And I realised that at that moment in time that it wasn't me. And so I left the army, and then literally when I joined the police, I started to realise that was where I loved being. But on August 4th, 2006 was the turning point that made me realise that was the wrong career and I'd been on the wrong path most of my life. What happened that night is there had been a funeral, tragically 2 weeks prior to my accident. There'd been a car accident on a single carriageway which involved two cars, and the two cars collided, and as they collided, three young girls of 18, 19 and 21 died. They were all sisters in a car accident. In the other car, two people died. But strangely enough, the drunk driver or the drink driver or the DUI, wherever I am in the world, survived it. So 5 people died, and the drink driver that evening survived the incident. So, long story short, it's 2 weeks later they're having their funerals for the people that are in the two people that were in with the drink driver, and the family decided that they needed more cocaine, more marijuana, and they needed more booze. That was exactly what he said in his police statement. So they needed more for this wake. Obviously, being respectful to their family, you can obviously tell what type of people they were anyway. And they sent the youngest one out, and the youngest one out went out for a drive. Abbott went out for a drive, and long story short is that he took the lady who died in the car accident, he took her car, drove down the road. He didn't have no licence, no insurance, no nothing. He hit a main bit of road and then hit a dual carriageway. He'd missed the turning, basically. He panicked. He turned right, turned left, and then he parked. And then basically, instead of hitting the brake, he hit the accelerator and crashed into our lives. I went outside of the house, and I actually naturally assumed it was an elderly person that was out the front. I really did think it was an elderly person because the demographics of where I live, I thought that's what it was, and the type of car. So I run around the back. There was neighbours coming in from everywhere. I realised it was a young pup. For some reason, I still don't know today, I put my hand through the door, wrapped my hand around the seatbelt, and then what I did then is I started to get him out of the car the best I could. I was trying my best to get him out of the car. I punched the side of the door a couple of times. That's how I broke my knuckle, apparently. Well, I think that's how I did it anyway. And literally, I just launched into him. The strange thing about it is that my force, you know, I only weigh 14 and a half stone, and I've got a 1-ton car. I'm losing out on this one. The wheels are still spinning. It crashes down, reverses backwards. My hand's still attached to the car, and it traps me under. So I flip backwards underneath the car. I'm rotated a few times under the car, popped out the front wheel. And then what happened then is that he just decided to stick it into drive after he'd been in reverse. He stuck it back into drive, hit the throttle again, and then hit me again, taking me all the way back home. So that was the only kindest thing that he did. And the only image that I did have that night, or the only recollection I did have, was my eldest son, was Ross. And all I can remember is just laying on the floor and watching him cry. And I didn't know, it was really weird actually. And this is not meant to, some people may see this as spiritual, some people may just see it as a disassociation, but I didn't feel like I was in me. I felt like I was out of me. And it's not meant to say like I was gone. I had gone on a journey. I just felt completely disassociated from myself and, you know, removed. And all I can remember is looking at him and just thinking, shit, is this it? And it wasn't, thankfully. And the long story short is that he'd smashed my heel bone off, my Achilles was snapped, patella was round the wrong way, there was fractures down my legs, flexed pelvis, all the way into my lumbar region, into my skull. There was loads of minor injuries, really, but even still, they all accumulated into one massive globule of rubbish. And so I went into hospital that night, and I woke up, and for where we are in Australia or back home, it was like the commissioner, the chief constable, was. I woke up, and my mum's on one side, and I looked at my mum, and then looked across the other side, and like the chief constable, she's sitting there like that, going, "You'll be all right." And I'm asking her, what just happened? And I still couldn't figure out what had gone on. I really didn't. So let's roll it on a bit. I'm in plaster. My leg's in plaster. I'm in agony. I've been put on tramadol, morphine. Not morphine. I can't remember the name. Can't think of it now. Anyway, I was on tramadol and pregabalin mainly. And I was numb. So literally for the first 2 weeks after the accident, it was just like watching people were flicking the television for me, making me tea, and just sitting there like a vegetable on the couch. And then I started to feel a little bit better. As the months progressed, I weaned off the tramadol, the pregabalin. I think it was about 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months. I can't remember now, roughly around that area, where the leg plaster cast had come off. So I had one leg that was quite muscular, and the other one looking a little bit skinny, a little bit ranty, really. And then I started rehabilitation. So I started swimming and doing running up and down in a swimming pool to get my strength back. And as we started to wean off the tramadol and pregabalin, the physical pain stopped, but then the mental pain then emerged. What we'd found is that the tramadol and the pregabalin had basically subdued what we were then going to find out was the start of post-trauma. And that's where the journey starts. So I then became a tramadol and pregabalin addict. I was drinking booze. I was getting hold of anything I could do just to numb me. All legal stuff, of course, because we're not drug addicts, are we, when it's given by the doctor? So, so I started on this journey with tramadol and anything else, diazepam. I wasn't being issued it, but I could get diazepam off of people. And I was using that just to stimulate. And then literally, people were noticing. They were going, "Karl's so happy-go-lucky, you know, what's gone wrong with him?" You know, he's literally derailed. It got to a point really where I was suicidal. I really was suicidal. I thought my life had come to an end, because this is the really important message that I would like to get out to people is that when you're seeing your clients or when you're meeting people, you don't have sympathy. I don't have sympathy, because sympathy sits somewhere else. But you know, I'm quite empathic with them because I understand how it feels to be lost, as in, I don't know if my life's ended because, you know, you've got the drugs, the booze, and all the nightmares and all that type of stuff, the reoccurring noises, all the things that had happened in the past. And the long story short is that, you know, I didn't know where to turn to. I went to counselling, it made it worse. I went to CBT, it made me suicidal, and I just went, that's enough. You know, they've given me all of these things, all of these tools, I'm screwed. And that's where I was. And I think for a lot of your viewers that are therapists or people that may not be therapists that are coming into it, I think people can appreciate that if you're uneducated in what we do, and you're not one, you know, you don't know all of the bits and bobs, it can be frustrating. So the CBT made it really bad. That's not to say CBT is bad and counselling is bad. I don't want to go down that route. It's just to say that there are great operators out there, people who can do it, and there are some fucking terrible ones. And somebody came out and just went, and somebody said, have you tried hypnosis? So I come back to the Great Yarmouth bit. I am not doing that. I don't want to be pregnant, and I definitely don't want to shit a square egg, and I don't want to do this, and I don't. No. And he said, no, let me show you what hypnosis is. So he took me aside as a serving police officer. He took me to one side, and the long story short is that he showed me hypnosis. Very simple PMR induction, a progressive muscle relaxation, from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. A very simplistic induction. It only took less than 5 minutes to do it, and I could just feel like a surge come up, and I panicked. I'll be brutally honest, because I've come from alpha male jobs, so it's like stiff upper boy, you know, drop a whiskey and it'll all go away and all that type of stuff. And the long story short is I felt it come up and I panicked, and he went, no, you're doing the right thing. And I went, I don't like it. And he went, you don't like it, or does it frighten you to let go? And I went, I think both. And he went, so he had a chat with me to know, which I know that he was doing rapport and building it up and reassurance and all that. Like he said, let's have a crack at it again. And he did it, and I'll tell you now, it was like the metaphor about carrying when you're born with an empty rucksack, and then during life you pick up jam jars of emotions, and they pull you back, and until you unleash some of those jam jars, that, you know, they're blowing it out of and getting rid of the jam jars, getting the weight that you can start to pull yourself back up. And that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like this pressure that was dragging me back, you know, energy, spiritually, physically, whatever it was dragging me back, and I just unleashed it that day. So it sparked off this, what is this hypnosis? What is this hypnosis? I need to know more. And I'm sure some of your viewers have probably experienced that themselves, as in, what the and just happened there? And the story about it is that I went on this crusade, for want of a better word, and started looking at different things and choosing the shit courses, as we all do, because we're uneducated, joining the wrong associations because we're uneducated, and I'm not going down that road. But the thing is that I then started to learn myself about different ways, and I went one way over here to parts therapy and Roy Hunter, Mike Mandel, and looking at stage hypnosis and other you know leading people that I absolutely respect nowadays then decided, right, I need to go learn more. So I went on this year-long diploma, and I didn't really learn a lot, to be quite honest. In fact, they nearly threw me off. This course called Chrysalis in the United Kingdom, who some of your viewers may have heard about. It's a sausage factory of just pumping people out. They don't really care. Anyway, that's my political voice off. And what they do is they literally do, and I'm sure you can appreciate, there are companies out there just pump people out. They don't really care about the end product. They're just interested in the coin now. And
call them for advice later.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah. Oh, did you do a course? $150, £200. Yeah. You come on the next course. We'll feed you some more rubbish. Anyway, where were we, Pat? Yeah, right. So I went on a course, and while I was on that course, I found a guy called Jonathan Chase.
Oh, he's great.
And I met John, and I went on a course. I was working for a police charity at the time called the Police Firearms Officers Association, which is I used to be CT Firearms, Counter-Terrorism Firearms, and it's a charity built up for people within the firearms realm that need anonymity. So I've been involved in most of the police shootings in the United Kingdom since 2007, realistically. 2006, I joined the charity to help be a support worker. 2007, I started getting into some of the big high-profile jobs that we've had in the United Kingdom. And I went on a course with Jonathan, and it like snapped into place. It really did. It really did. My confidence in being ex-military and ex-police came out. I was able to just walk around the room, bing, bong, bing, bong, bing. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And like a little kiddie, and, you got a little bit of ego firing off as well at the same time. So I went back to this 10-month course, and we're in our last 2 months, and I'm in the classroom with all of these students, and there's a guy that'll probably watch this called Paul Gibson. He was actually there. He's still a hypnotherapist in the UK, and he was watching me just come around, ding, dong, ding, 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 getting hypnosis in 30 seconds to 2 minutes, whereas we were getting taught 15 minutes. That's it. You need 15 minutes to wind your way down the staircase and down the waterfall and all that type of stuff. And it didn't quite cut the mustard with me. So I went in, dropped them all, and I got a yellow card, basically. We don't do that type of hypnosis in this classroom. No, we don't do that, all that. And I just realised that was not a waste of my time, but it gave me a foundation of what was pure hypnosis and what was even 10 months of shite. I'm going to say that. I normally swear a lot. Anyone who knows me knows I really do swear a lot. But the thing is that it gave me the fundamentals. But it gave me Sigmund Freud's inside leg measurements really more than proactive hypnosis. It didn't give me any hypnosis. It taught me crap psychoanalysis, to be brutally honest. It taught me useless stuff I don't even think I even use to this day, to be brutally honest. But who am I to know then? I wouldn't know. So I did it with John. John saw something in me and then took me on for a couple of years. And John really sparked my career, and it turned to a point where John was going one way, I was going another way, and we just parted company. And I'm very grateful for Jonathan for what he did, but on the same token, I went away and I did my own thing, and I needed to have my own path and stuff like that. And
you've got to be your own unique self.
Yeah.
He's already alive. He's himself.
Well, that's another story as well. People that sit there and consistently look. This is no disrespect, right? Because I'm an Elman trainer as well, and I love Larry and Cheryl. So anyone who, he's being nasty. I've got people, and they love me. Don't worry about this. Is that I'm an Elman trainer. I was taught by Larry and Cheryl in Denmark a few years ago to become a trainer. But I do sit there watching people that are like, they study so intently to be Milton Erickson or Dave Elman, and you're like that, but you'll never be them. You will never have that edge that they had, or that charisma, or that thing. You just have to be yourself.
Take all the tools, put them in,
shove them in, and make them in. I don't buy techniques either. I don't buy techniques. I mean, we've got Kinetic Shift, but on the same token, people who know about Kinetic Shift know that it's not a technique. It's about belief, intent, and creativity. That's what it is. We developed that on the 2 days. But the key thing is that with people that I wanted to be me, and the key behind that is that I then developed more within the police charity. I was then able to go develop more of my skills and work on frontline jobs. I mean, these things were hitting the stuff I'm talking about with post trauma and family liaison. Was like frontline news. I mean, I'm reading the newspaper, then walking into the people's houses. So I'm reading what shite they're reading on the internet and on the news about themselves, but they're not allowed to have a voice. The key thing for me is working in that role with obviously the anonymity, the level of secrecy and stuff that I could deal with, was really paramount to why I was able to excel within that field. I understood what it was like to be a firearms officer, or if you're not in the UK, a SWAT officer. Okay, I'm only saying firearms officer or SWAT officer because in the UK we don't carry fire. There's only a small percentage that carry guns. Most countries, everyone carries guns, so we are a unique thing over there. Yeah, so it got me into all these nooks and crannies, and working with people that can't go to their doctor, genuinely cannot. That it's that serious. That they can't even go to the doctor. Some of them, they won't even go talk to the doctor because they don't want their husband or their partner to lose their anonymity, as in their name to be done. Some countries announce the police officer straight away. They say this officer was involved in this case. In the United Kingdom, we have anonymity, whereas we call them Charlie 1, Victor 53, Charlie 52. So basically what you're doing is you're just covering their name up to protect them and their family for terrorism reasons and stuff like that, or to preserve and protect their family members as well. So they can't talk, and especially like that as well. So I got myself into this really niche area where I was going over and supporting the families. That was my job. I was going in there because there's roughy, tufty, alpha, maley, femaley type career people. We can go into the office and give it a no. That's not disrespectful, by the way, to anyone. I've had this before. That's not disrespectful to those that have passed or have been injured or have passed away during a police incident. There is an element of way that we do that. There is a way that, same as the military, you have a black humour way of doing things. There is no two ways about it, because that's the way we process.
It's a strong culture. That's how everybody's brought up.
And it's not
black humour, booze.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's the thing. And the key thing about it is that you go into work and you blow up. But the children and the partners of that person are sitting at home going, well, is he going to go to jail? Is my husband or my wife going to jail? What are they going to do? What do you mean that they're going to they could arrest you for this? And what do you mean that, so they're sitting there asking all these questions while we're sitting at work talking about it. And it's like a big pressure cooker, a massive pressure cooker, and a huge strain on the family. So what we did is we started firing me into the families so then I could then explain the acronyms. PIM, when the PIM comes in, a post-incident manager, that's somebody who comes in, and I would be able to explain that the PIM, a post-incident manager, is the person that's in charge of the incident and is there putting all the things in place and is the centre point. And then I'd talk about, the IPCC, as it was at the time, or the IOPC, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, and talk about all of those things there. Because when the partner of comes home and the wife or the partner of is sitting there and they're going, but what's the PIM and the IPCC? And they're going, why have I got to go for it? I've been through this all day at work. And you can appreciate that they don't want to keep going through it.
No.
And that's the key thing as well. So my job was to go in and in those early days, use light forms of hypnosis or guided meditation in certain cases, and EFT techniques, TFT techniques, thought field therapy, and I learned some techniques of Ron Rudin's havening. I used some of those techniques just to help people. So when I left, they had something to go for. Even like we're just showing them fundamental basics of havening, fundamental basics of EFT, and stuff like that. Before anyone kicks off, no, I am not qualified in havening. I just respect the technique, and it's a case of I've watched many videos on it. I know what it's like when these things go out. So the thing is that utmost respect to them. That's why I'm naming them, is because these are great things that people can sit there and just calm themselves down when they're having a little bit of a moment until I can get into the situation. So basically, that's how I got into where I am, and now I just do nothing but look after I do work around trauma. So I love working still within the military and emergency services, the EMS. However, my day-to-day work is predominantly civilians post-trauma. And there's no differentiation, because post-trauma itself is an accumulation of stress factors. Yes. That's all it is. Just build up until eventually bang. And in my case, I've been to all the war zones. I've been shot at, spat on, pissed on. I've been, seen explosions, seen people pass away, and then joined the police, and then it was more stress, just accumulated stress factors, build, until, like, if you imagine the old pressure cookers. That's if some of your viewers may be able to remember them. But I was talking about a pressure cooker the other day, and people are like, what are those? Like that. No, they're a big steel vessel with a lead weight on the top. Basically, you filled it with water and then put a thing on, and basically, as you applied the heat, the pressure built until eventually it hit that weight that lifted it and went. Well, that's what I feel that post-trauma is. That's the best way I see it is. It's a pressure valve, and it just keeps going and going and going until there's one incident that sends you straight through the roof.
Yeah, and then from then on,
it's just that. It just will not stop. It just keeps on going. It's like it keeps on hissing until you turn down the heat on the hot plate. And that's exactly what I do. By not literally a hot plate, I don't put my clients on a hot plate, but I turn it down to then take the heat off, which then takes the pressure off. So, and that's why I work content free, because my consultations, some people might find this right or wrong. Personally, I don't care. My consultation takes 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. The reason being is because I work on the premise of the issue is never the issue. So when somebody comes in and tells me this, it's never that, it's over here. Oh, it's a fear of spiders. Really? Yeah, whatever. And it comes out in the wash later on. So my objective is to work content free. I do not want people to go through what I did. That's why I strongly feel about it. I don't want people to keep reliving it.
It just makes it worse.
Yeah, until eventually, you're just sitting there going, it just doesn't work. The prefrontal cortex has changed so much in the past 40, 50 years that, years ago we used to give kids abacuses, now we give them iPads. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're sitting there like that. I've got, my 8-year-old son, I give him my mobile phone. He's like, Dad, done that, done the updates. He sits there with his Nintendo DS, he's like that. Whereas years ago, for me especially, I'm 45, we didn't have that. I had sticks in a river, to be brutally honest. That's what I did. But the thing is that we can work faster. My point behind the issue is never the issue, is that, like I said a minute ago, spiders over here, but actually it's something over here. So by dropping somebody in as deep as I can into their hypnosis, I allow their subconscious, unconscious monkey brain to then release whatever it really is by just nurturing it, by nudging it, not telling it. That's why I hate scripts. I despise scripts with a vengeance. I really do, because they're
not personal. It's a story.
And if you write a script, it's out of date by the moment you wrote it anyway, because the emotional feeling of the person that walks in the door is completely different.
Yeah, I had a guy on the other day who was an ex-prison screw, and so he had that trauma built up, just gradual, from dealing with the worst people in the world every day.
Yeah.
And he solved it by dropping into trance. He went to a float tank and got into theta state, come out, and his pressure cooker was not boiling anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a simple thing. And from what I've had of the police that have come to me, they've had to have a fight to get to be able to talk about something. And they realise they don't have to talk much about it. Yeah. And then they walk out and they're like, oh, this was too easy. This is way easier than the 5 years of drinking I tried first.
Well, and do you know what? I get this all the time. It's because people, and it comes back to the very first thing that we were talking about, or I was talking about, because I feel like I've been talking, is about education. My job is not to go around the planet showing techniques or gobbing off on stage. My job is to educate. My job is to educate, and that is the only thing that I do. I educate people, muggles. For anyone who's watched Harry Potter, that's the way I look at it. Muggles, people who don't have the skills or don't understand. People out there who don't understand what we're doing. My job is to educate and nurture that hypnosis and hypnotherapy, that change work, so they go, I like that idea. I like that idea. Oh, so you're not going to make me go back to the car accident and relive the roll. No, I'm not going to do that. Or you're not going to make me go back to that moment that they passed away and it was, no, I'm not going to do that. That's my job. My job is to stop that. My job is to sit there and go, I am not putting up with that crap anymore. Don't get me wrong. There's great counsellors out there. There's great CBTers out there. And there's great hypnotists out there. And on the other side, there's some shite as well. And that's the point. My job is to differentiate. No ego, no nothing. I don't need to. Anyone who thinks I've got an ego in this profession, you want to drive a fast car with guns wrapped around you, that's ego. This isn't ego. I just love it. I just love what I do. And my job is to educate people, and especially within military and emergency services, because there is a lot of people that when I've hit resistance, massive resistance. 12 years army, my time in the police, just shy of 12 years in the police. And then what happens then is I come into this hypnotherapy job, and they're like, what a complete ponce. What an arse. How can you go like that? This person that was drinking, and I won't go any further. But anyway, I was a bloke, and that's as simple as. How can you go from that to now sitting in a chair doing therapy? And people couldn't quite cognitively get it. And it comes back to what I was talking at the beginning. I actually think that this was my path from the beginning, and I just didn't realise it. And when I was 14 years old and I watched that stage hypnotist, that watching that triggered something in my head. And there was something about, I always wanted to, I felt I should have been here anyway. If that makes sense to people. I felt that my journey was about helping people. I just had to go through several different journeys to find out where I wanted to actually be.
Yeah.
You know,
if 14-year-old Karl went up to that guy and learnt hypnosis, you wouldn't be here today.
No, exactly. No.
You'd be in some tiny little pub doing little show tricks.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'd be it.
Yeah.
Where now you can connect to people.
Well,
now
and
you
that's the thing.
understand what that trauma's like. You know that voice that's sitting over your shoulder going, remember what it's like? Remember what that wheel arch looked like?
Yeah,
Do you remember that sound? I'll play you that sound.
Yeah.
I'll play you that sound.
Yeah.
Play that sound. You need a drink. You need a drink. Now you got that guy going, you're awesome.
Yeah.
You can go help people.
Yeah.
You can make that other guy's voice go quiet.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
like
the
that?
feeling.
You can train somebody else how to do this, so you don't even have to speak to that person.
And that's the lovely thing about this, is that I go around, and people may think, I've travelled the planet. Literally, in the next 48 hours, I would have travelled around the globe teaching hypnosis, all the way from London, all the way to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, then Melbourne, Sydney, then Honolulu, next stop, then Vegas for HT Live, and then flying back to London to then teach another course. So I've literally gone circumnavigated around. And it's, you know, the way that I always explain this is that the worst day of my life actually was the best day of my life. If August the 4th, 2006 had never happened, I would probably be sitting in a patrol car, sniffing around, doing nothing at the present moment in time, trying to scratch around, because you are indoctrinated. You know, from a young age joining the military, you are indoctrinated, and you're very, you know, closed off to what reality really is. You know, now when I look back, I used to have anger at Abbott for what he did. Now, I actually, when I released my book, there's no D in PTSD. When I released that book, the first copy, the first book that came out, I signed it to him and gave it to his sister, and literally gave it to her and said, "Could you do me a favour and hand that to him?" And she read the book and then called me back and just said, "Brilliant book, thank you." But well, the book's not about techniques; it's about educating people about CBT, counselling, spiritualism, and other techniques. So it can be in a crew room, in a brew room somewhere, and just be thrown in. But people can go, because obviously stiff upper lip, boy, and all that type of stuff. Yeah, one doesn't talk about one's mental health, do we? No. Is that what they can do? Is that they can flick through it and go, oh, that's what they. Oh, that's what. The whole point is to breach into and educate people, not to be a mass seller. I sent it out to all the police forces in the United Kingdom. We've got some down here now. We've got books floating around down here that we've sent out to police forces, to Victoria. We've got some in the US as well, so I've been firing them out. And to be quite honest, it was never about making money, because to be brutally honest, I am not a bestseller. But on the same token, I've lost money on that book for the amount of times that I've handed it out. The point wasn't about making money,
no.
But the point was about just getting people to understand what we do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you
Gateway.
you're like that. You're like, no, I'm not going near that shit.
Well, what was the reaction you got from your mates at work when you told them you'd tried hypnosis for the first time?
Okay. Can we swear on this?
Yeah, this is it's Wild West.
Wanker, arsehole, fucking freak. You know, you get all of that type of stuff. But they're the uneducated. They didn't realise it. And as I dug that hole deeper into hypnosis, I was starting to get ostracised. It was really, really uncomfortable at one stage. People who I used to go out drinking with, I laughed with, they were like, "Fuck, he's gone on a bender." Do you know what I mean? He's gone hugging trees. Now, I used to say that. Fucking hugging trees. But the thing is now I understand it. But the thing is it was really. It was really important for me to follow what I wanted to from the gut, and by following what I've done from the gut, has led me to a career now where people are now going, "Good on you, sunshine," and it's got nothing to do with that. I post pictures on Facebook about what I'm up to and stuff, but actually they're more about inspiration and shoving people's nose in it. Yeah. That's what it's about, you know, and that's why when I do podcasts and stuff like this, when I do interviews like this, I always keep to the same story, roughly the same story, because somebody watching this, or somebody's friend or family that gets sent this, will be given that hope that you're not in a black secluded box and you're stuck, that actually you have a choice, you know, and it's about how you allow whatever's going on in your life to to make that choice. Do you let it drown you, or do you fight it? And I chose to fight it. And we all make choices all the way along the life, and life is about choices, simple as. But on the same token, it's it's all good fun.
Yeah, well, I had a similar thing. Mine was August 5th.
All right.
I had a migraine 24/7 for 9.5 years.
Can I just pause for a minute? I just realised yesterday, right? I was sat with my son, right? Today's date is. I was sat with my son on the other day, and I'm going, I'm sure it's somebody's birthday. I'm sure it's something that happened today. I'm sitting there, I was whale watching in Australia. I'm going to him going, I'm sure something like that. He's going, I don't know. I don't know. Is it your mum's birthday? No, that's the second. No. Oh, I can't remember. And now it's just cottoned on in my head. It was the 4th.
It was also my birthday.
Oh.
It's the 4th.
There you go. Oh, there you go. There you go.
So
happy birthday.
Those 2 days for me sucked because birthday reminded me, tomorrow is a year since I've had this pain. 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I was blocked off to something weird like hypnosis or energy healing or anything like that. I'm like, no, I'll just go to a doctor. I'll take some pills. I'll have a drink. I'll just lay on the floor and suck it up. And then eventually, I'm like, okay, I'll try the weird woo stuff. And it didn't just give me freedom from pain. Like when you've got freedom from that mental pain, you got passion.
Yeah.
And how fucking great is having passion?
Mental. I live my life. Somebody said the other day, Carl, what would you do now if somebody took hypnosis out of your life? And I said, probably jump off the Sydney Bridge. It's ingrained in me. I live, breathe, eat shit, hypnosis. That's all I do. If I'm not on audiobooks, looking at other things, I'm doing the business around it. I'm looking at different avenues. I'm always doing an autopsy, for want of a better word, on what I do. I always do an autopsy on everything I do. Why did that work so well? Why didn't it work? How can I do that better, and where did that come from? And that's why I firmly believe in that hypnotists don't need techniques. They need belief, intent, and creativity and confidence. But the creativity is the most important part. Creativity is huge. Creativity in being able to sit there and go, because I get fed up with these formulas. Oh yes, you must say this first, then this next, and then you must say this next, and then this. And if it doesn't do this, then you can't move on to step B. What a load of shit. Human beings are not designed like that. They are not designed like that.
Everybody's different.
That's why. And that's why when I'm teaching, it's about opening up and showing people I will do the most extreme things and the most subtle things. Anyone who's ever trained with me knows I will show you a deepener. Deeper, or 10, 9, 8, or I will be really aggressive if the subconscious, unconscious monkey brain's not playing, or I'll just be the most subtle. But I have to work and orchestrate myself in and around the individual, and it's not pre-done. I have to sit there and look at them and watch what's happening with the micro movements, and I work with those micro movements in the face, in the shoulder movements, in the twitching, in whatever's happening, or my intuition, my gut. I have to work with my gut. And I might be going that way, and then I'll go over that way. And 1 minute, I'll be going over here doing something like some tapping technique or an EFT or a KS, or I might then come back to, and I might end up on a regression to cause. I don't know where it is. And so people were recording me the other day, and they were going, I just can't keep up, Carl. But that's why it works for me and my clients, because A, they know my approach. They know they're not going to get unicorns. There is no unicorn stroking in my sessions. There's no hugging teddy bears. There's no unicorn stroking.
What part of a unicorn do you stroke?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll leave that to the imagination. But the thing is that mine's a very direct approach and sometimes a very aggressive approach. But people will be out there going, oh yes, but I like the soft approach. That's brilliant. You're doing a grand job for the people who want the soft approach. For the people who want the doors blown off and they want a direct, stop the naughty noise now, please, Carl. I want you to stop the naughty noise. They're the ones who come to me. Yeah. There's horses for courses. There's no right or wrong. Years ago, I used to sit there and go, who does all that type of shit? But I get it. You have to be able to sit there and work with the individual, the client that's sitting in front of you. It's nothing to do with techniques. Anyone who tells you it's about techniques, they're talking out of their arse. I can tell you that now. And I don't come from a village therapist mindset. I am global mindset. I've been taught by some of the best. I've been traveling the world. I've learned so many things off of people. And I've got it from the school of hard knocks, to be brutally honest. And I've finally found out that everything that I thought I knew, I didn't know, actually, I still don't know nothing about it, to be brutally honest. It's one of those scenarios.
Yeah, techniques that are like a map, but you don't have to follow an
No.
exact map to get anywhere.
No.
You can pull from a couple of different maps to work out your own direction.
But that's why with the technique that we show around, Kinetic Shift, is that there is nothing new. There is absolutely nothing new about Kinetic Shift. It's its delivery. If you're into spiritualism, energy, or anything like that, you'll love it. If you're into, like with Rick, a little bit of mesmerism, anything like that, it's got that rolled into it. But nothing's new. It's the delivery. It's the belief, the intent, and the confidence and creativity of the person who's delivering, and being able to know when to shut up, when to do something, and that's it. That's the key thing about it. It's about going above and beyond. You know, working very. I'm very much a person of there's three brains: grey matter, heart, gut.
Yeah.
Primary brain, secondary brain, third. This one here's the filtration system. This is the one that cocks it all up. So if you look at it like this, subconscious, unconscious. No, subconscious monkey brain, unconscious. So whatever you want to look at it like that, is that this is the filtration system that seems to put the cognitive element on, whereas this is the intuitive, the spontaneous gut, the intuitive.
The traditional people of this land, their name for this brain is the same name as a tangled fishing net.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget the actual term, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce
Try and find
it.
out
Say
for
it.
us.
I'll find it, and I'll add a clip at the end. And that makes sense, because that's the net that gets in the way. It's a pain in the arse.
Yeah, and the key thing that I look at here as well is that when I'm intuitively working with somebody, mine's down to basic physics. When I'm teaching a lesson, it's basic physics. This wall is only atoms and molecules pieced together in a frequency. So I bring physics into hypnosis and traditional, and then amalgamate the whole lot, and then show you different ideas of how to adapt to it. Because there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. Basically, go read it. It's a heavy book. Don't let children carry it. It'll bust them. Honestly, it's a big, thick book. But on the same token, it's a great book to go look at, because I've always intuitively known this, is that most people, classically trained, think it all goes on up here, when actually it's not. And that's where KS comes into this. This is why I've developed the way I have done by working intuitively. There is no silver bullet. There is no one-all. But, you know, I'm not saying that KS is the fucking greatest thing on the planet, because it's not. It just gets people to realise that if this thing up here works in colours and algorithms, it doesn't work in speech. Hence why cognitive therapies are going out of fashion, like a rapid rate of knots. This thing doesn't work in speech. We have to teach it speech, the language, before it recognises. This thing up here works in colours and algorithms. It works in colours and algorithms. It doesn't matter if you're in Japan, Hong Kong, Russia, London, Las Vegas, or even Tibet. We've all got the same brain. And they all work on colours and algorithms. So if you can tap into that, then find out where it is within the body and stored within the body, and then remove it and connect it, that's when it changes. That's when it starts to happen. So that's the way I work. Mine's all about finding out what it is that's going on up here, reconnecting it with the part of the body. I mean, I've worked with people before and found post-trauma in their toes.
Doesn't surprise me.
No.
Traditional Chinese medicine's all about that.
Yeah.
Different emotions are in different parts of the body.
Exactly.
And they flow from one spot to another.
Exactly. And that's why when we see people with arthritis, back pains, with jaw aches, migraines, eye aches, you know, people have got to fundamentally look at what is the emotion that's hidden behind it. And it goes back to Chinese medicine. You know, I keep saying it, there's nothing new here. There is nothing new. It's like a Meatloaf album. Everything within this profession, or anything that we do, is like a Meatloaf album. Every Meatloaf album's going to have Bat Out of Hell on it, right? Except it's digitally remastered. It's re-digitally remastered and digitally remastered. So.
The thing with that, though, is there is a lot that is new to us to be found.
With neuroscience.
So much of that old stuff, of the old traditional Chinese stuff, the old mesmerism stuff, the old energetic stuff that science came from. Science came from alchemy.
Yeah.
Science came from the weird and wacky.
Yeah.
We discount all that once we found science.
Yeah.
And once hypnosis found words, they ditched the energy. And too many people modelled Milton Erickson.
Yeah.
So there's so many people with a very rigid structure that a lot of the old stuff has been missing.
Yeah.
And so it takes pioneers to re-find the old stuff to reintroduce it.
Look, it's interesting you say that. Interesting you say that. I don't think it's to re-find it. I think it's to basically draw it. I don't think re-find it is the right way.
To trust it again.
Yeah, to come back to it.
Back to it.
I mean, I was talking to Rick Collingwood the other day when we were saying in Melbourne about this full circular vision that he's got, that mesmerism's coming back up. And I've known that for years.
Yeah.
I've loved looking at DePisa's work, Mesmer's work, Marco Perat, and all those type of people there. Love looking at all that, and shamanic type stuff as well, and going back to those core roots of where we come from. And, people cover it in shit, to be quite honest. I get really sick and tired of, I've got this new technique, or I've just invented 300 techniques. You're like, shut up, for crying out loud. There's nothing new. We come back to the fundamental human that's in front of you. I believe in working with the human first, then being a human being.
Yeah. The closest thing to anything new I know of is the Swan. And
Yeah. Are we mentioning Bob Burns in this?
We can.
Oh, no, don't. Bob Burns? Oh, dear.
I bet
We love you, Bob.
Bet you've used his Swan.
Yeah. I know. I've known. Funny enough, right? Bob's watching this. I've actually known Bob longer than actually I've been in hypnosis.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a long story behind it. But the long story. I've known Bob longer than I've actually been in hypnosis, which is 12 years. So I must have known him 14 years.
Oh, there you go. That's probably what scared you off it for a while.
Probably was. Yeah. And his bad jokes. Yeah. Anyway, how did we get stuck on Bob?
So with Kinetic Shift, I've been curious to find out a little bit more about it, because you've only just started introducing it to Australia.
Yep.
My mate John did it in Adelaide, I think, when it first came there, and he was telling me about it then.
Yep.
But he was there in a class with me and Rick at the time, so we weren't there to learn off him. We were there to deliver something to him.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's been on my list. I've got to get him to give me a KS session, because from the name of it, it's kinetic. It's where you feel it within the body.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's going to work really well with how a lot of hypnotists get me offside.
Yeah.
Because they're visual.
Yeah.
Visual. My imagination is not visual.
No, I'm shy as well.
They put me offside straight away when they're like, see the stairwell, waterfall, go down this hallway or whatever. Yeah. And I'll use that for other people, because I'll check first if they're visual or not. So could you tell us a bit about this process of
So KS has got nothing to do with Karl Smith. Let me just get that categorically right. That was what you call one of those little universe things that came down. I was with a lady called Catherine Temple, and I was doing what I was doing now. I was literally just using Kinetic Shift. I was using simple modalities and finding out where it was in the body and then ripping it out. And the long story short is that we were both trying to figure out what to call it, and she called it, and Catherine Temple, she said energy lifter, energy this, something like that. And I went, no. And I was driving down the road and I said, about kinetic. And she went, yeah. She went, kinetic shift. And I went, yeah. And she went, kinetic shift technique. And I went, yeah, all right then. But then we figured out that that's her KST is hers, Catherine Temple's. That was her name. And then when you took it away, it was KS as Karl Smith. And that's how it happened. It's got nothing to do with my name. I've been called an egotistical wanker for that, but no, I'm not that. It's got nothing to do with my name. It was a download. It was one of those weird and wonderful moments in life. So KS is about working with the mind and the body and reconnecting them. It's about finding out what the colour in the algorithm is upstairs, reconnecting it to the part of the body that it is, and then forcing to reconnect that way. Then finding a way and a means to remove it from the body the best that person can do it. It can be very shamanic. It can be very spiritual. It can be very energy, and it can be very, very. It's Last week I used it and somebody started to literally, and this may shock a couple of people, literally going into a fit. And she went in Melbourne, she went into a complete and utter fit, rigid, shaking, bouncing all over the floor, and then she came out of it. And the text message we've got is that basically 10 kilos of weight has just been lifted off her shoulders. She also came out with the other thing as well, is that this disgusting statement as well from a psychiatrist, is that now he's found out she's been with a hypnotherapist after 18 months, he said, and he found out it worked, basically said, now you're ready to do it, shall we really start applying pressure to this? I was like, did he really just say that? How annoying is that? But the long story short is it's coming back to fundamental basics. It's a bit of Reiki, a bit of mesmerism, a bit of submodalities, a bit of eye movement, bilateral stimulation, and there's 7 different techniques that are all built in that you could strip out and use on their own. Like I said, the technique itself is called a technique, but it's 7 different techniques that everyone would know. It's just the way that we deliver it. It's the way that we do it. It's the way that the way that you give the belief of the client that they're experienced. I don't offer therapy sessions. I offer experiences. So when people come to me, they come for an experience. When people leave me, they don't go, I'm not too sure whether I was hypnotized. They'll go, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but something just fucking happened. That's the point. Yeah. That's the point. Irrespective if it's non-placebo, placebo, spiritual energy, whatever, when I'm doing what I'm doing on that certain point of the body or wherever it is, and I'm reconnecting, as I'm redoing it, they're moving and feeling it and twitching. And that is it. The thing that we do is all about belief. You can do a little bit in the office, you can do a little bit here, but 70% of what we do and how we do stuff is actually by the client.
Yeah.
70% is by the client. In fact, I would even go to 80% of what we do is with the client. When people finish a session with me and they say, thank you, I say, well, thank me, I didn't do anything. You did it. You're the one who did it. And I'm very clear on that. Why? Because it gives ownership back to my client and they think, bloody hell, I did that myself. And also as well, the experience they had just fires them up. And it's just a great way of doing it. The long story short is about finding out where the energy is in the body, reconnecting it to the brain, and then dragging it out the best way we can do. Nothing new. Very mesmeric, very Reiki, very spiritual, very brutal. But you know, and I've seen people do KS. Look, my job is to give people ideas, and we've got a Kinetic Shift practitioners group, and people were doing things the other day that I'd never even thought of. Past life regression. People were doing past life regression, then using KS within the past life regression to then do stuff. And and that's what I love. I want people to develop it. It's not like, this is my baby, you must only do it this way. It's, get out there and bloody well do it. Go do it. And I think KS is one of those things that I could sit here and demonstrate it all night long, but viewers wouldn't get it unless they're experiencing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a very much tactile thing, energy. You've got to.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a long time, and I still can't find words to describe what I feel in my hands or on my body.
No. So did John do KS
no,
with you?
he didn't. I've just done a lot of Reiki, energy healing, mesmerism, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's about finding what the algorithm is, and then finding out where it is in the body, and then shifting it out.
Fantastic.
And loads more.
The shaking and tremors that woman had, that's what happens all the time with their mesmerism.
Yeah.
Catharsis. That shakes out stuff from the nervous system all the time. So.
Yes. So if anyone looks at Peter Levine's book, Waking the Tiger, there's the story about the gazelle. This is quite interesting. About the gazelle. And a cheetah's chasing the gazelle. The young cheetah catches the gazelle. And we can watch this in wildlife movies. You can watch it all day long. Cheetah catches the gazelle, knocks it to the floor, and it sits there and it plays with it. It doesn't do anything with it. It doesn't kill it. It just sits there battering it. It doesn't know what to do with it. Mummy, if the baby cheetah's got it and it doesn't, it's like, I don't know what to do with this. You know, I know I've got to do it, but I don't know what to do. So after a while, you'll see the cheetah pull away and go, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'll just bugger off and leave it. You know, a bit like cooking to me, really. But the thing is that it just goes like that. It leaves it. So the little gazelle sits there for 2-3 seconds and stands up, shakes its tail, shakes its whole somatic nervous system off, and then runs off and then eats grass. Because it doesn't need counselling and CBT, because it just shook it off and went, oh, that was bad. I won't do that again. And just carries on eating. And when you read Peter Levine's, he's got a few books out, really good for trauma. Waking the Tiger, and Trauma is the other one as well. It's big red letters, I can't say the name of it. Peter Levine, Levine, anyone who's interested in trauma. Great books to start yourself off on. And I work from that principle there, is that literally if you can get the body to shake it out or remove it from the nervous system, then that's the best way of doing it. You know, it's the same as, well, the way that I teach my clients is that years ago we were told, don't eat too much fat because it'll clog up your arteries. In today's world, we have to look at our sugar consumption, because when we look at post-trauma, the way that post-trauma has gone like this, and we now start labelling people with post-trauma, it's gone like this. So from the late 18th century all the way to today, you can watch a graph and it does this, it goes vertical. You put the sugar consumption that humans do, and it nigh on follows it. So if you look at it as well with post-trauma, it's sugar. What's happening is that our consumption of sugar is blocking up our nervous system, for want of a better way of looking at it. We're putting glucose into the nervous system. The nervous system can't transmit the electrical systems like they want to, and it gets clogged up, and it gets clogged up, gets clogged up, gets clogged up. Anyone who's a therapist in here, I bet you 10 to a pound a pinch of salt that you're seeing more teenagers nowadays. Why? Because they're drinking that sugary energy shite drink that's got bull semen in it. If you go check out, you go have a look at it. Go have a look at it. Go have a look at it. It's on the side of a tin. Anyway, but you know what? When you're ingesting that much sugar and the chemicals that were in it, it's not going to damage your heart initially. No, I know we can go down that road there. But if we look at the nervous system and how it's being clogged up with all the glucose and everything like that, there's another thing to look at. Dissipation of energy. Let's come back to let's look at the gazelle. It shakes, it dissipates the energy. What do the kids nowadays do? Yeah, all right. I mean, the only way they're dissipating, they're not going running, they're not, you know, not all of them, but a majority of them are not shaking off their system. That's the key thing. That's what I look at in post-trauma. What's their sugar like? And normally when stress is involved, what we've got to do is slow that right down to a manageable level. That's what, and my job is to educate them that it's the sugar that's doing it as well.
Excellent. So somebody that's been experiencing trauma, what would your advice be for them at home if they're sitting there and they've got just their Jim Beam or their beer as their counsellor? What would you suggest as their first step of something to?
My first step would be is if you haven't tried CBT and counselling, go have a look at it. Go make sure you find a respectable, reputable type person to go do it. If that doesn't flick your boat, then at the end of the day, what I would do is I would type in hypnosis post-trauma. I would have a look at certain people that can do it. And I would look at hypnosis, to be quite honest, because if you're looking for a content-free session, if you're looking for something where you don't have to regurgitate, then hypnosis is probably the best thing. I would strongly recommend havening as well, with Ron Rudin and Steve Rudin. There's plenty of practitioners. I'm not even a practitioner, by the way. I've mentioned that twice now. I should be on commission. But the thing is that havening is a great way. TFT, EFT, they're great ways of getting yourself into a position where you can start to start your journey. Don't go into it thinking you are going to go in and it's all going to be la-da, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory straight away. It's not. It's a journey. It's about how you start that journey. EFT was one of the first things that I learned and got about 2007. I did EFT 1 and 2 then, and they were the things where I could sit there and just do this, even though and all that. They helped me. You know, so I would look at emotional freedom techniques. I would look at thought field therapy. I would look at hypnosis, and I'd look at havening, and I'd look at your diet for starters as well. Your diet, and the other thing as well is that, and I'm going to come back to it as well, is choice. You have a choice. You can carry on doing the things you want to do, or you can change. And you are the only one that can make that decision. Sitting there and saying, "Oh, it's the world's fault," ain't going to fucking win. It ain't going to sort shit out. I made a choice when I realised that I had gone down and I was destroying my family, I was destroying everything, my career, everything. I was telling my bosses to piss off. When I did that, I realised, no, there's something fundamentally wrong here, and I went in search, and I made a choice, a conscious choice. I need to change it now, and that's the key thing about it. And when you make that choice, it will happen.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
Do you think that choice weakened you at all?
No.
No.
Strengthened me.
Exactly.
No. It empowered me. It empowered me, because once I'd made that decision of, right, cut down on the booze slightly, cut down on the tramadol. Tramadol's horrid. Cut down on those things. Once I'd started that process, then literally I was able to then start on a new journey then. And, you know, it's progressive, you know, and to say that post-trauma is done in one session, is a load of bullshit. You know, you can't do it in one session. Anyone who tells you can reduce the stress, you can reduce the pressure cooker. You can reduce that pressure cooker dramatically in one session, but it's still a process of letting the pressure come down. You know, you still got to allow the subconscious, unconscious monkey brain to allow it to do what it needs to do to chuff it out. A bit like a recycle bin. Every so often, do the cash, do the recycle bin, kick that shit out, and then go for it again. And that's exactly what it is. But my job is to literally do it. For anyone who's interested, I've got a couple of videos on my website, on my Karl Smith Hypnotherapy.
Put them in the show notes if you send it through.
But there's a little thing that I do, and the reason I'm saying it is not to get you in. It's not. I want you to find somebody local. Is that there's a little video on there that you'll see me with an expandable and Peppa Pig. I want you to watch it, and that will fall into place in what I'm talking about today. about Peppa Pig, the expandable, and about why we do what we do, the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere, the bit in the middle that makes us sit there doing our fight, flight, freeze, whether we're in fight or flight or freeze mode, whether we're curled up in a ball, whether we're fighting things physically or verbally, or flighting from things, running away from things. And they're very important that you find out which one that you're in, and that's my job, is to find out if you're in a fight, flight or freeze moment, and then we'll find out if you've been in all three. All of us do it now. We're always running away from something, fighting something, or bloody, or or curling into a ball. And it's the same with man flu. I normally find this, and women don't understand it, but when men get man flu, we go into freeze mode, and that's when we, get some hot cocoa and watch Devil Wears Prada, on our own. Was that just me? Anyway, but the
movie.
Yeah, but the thing is that when I'm working with that, I find out whether they're in fight, flight, or freeze, and then I work with them around that area there. Why are they in flight? Why are they in freeze? Why are they, and I keep going along that. It's very important that we find out. But that video that's on there on my YouTube channel is a video with me and Peppa Pig and an expandable left and right hemisphere. That there has helped so many people. I'll tell you now, that's brief explanation. There's no Sigmund Freud, there's no Tweedy jackets, there's no rubbish going on. It's just pure basic psychology to show you that you are not abnormal. Everybody does this. Right? You're just doing it really freaking well, and you haven't got any. You just don't understand at the moment that you can. Whereas I get myself into a mischief nowadays, I know there is a way or a technique that I can go about to go do that to myself. Some people just don't understand, and that's why I like getting people to watch that video, and then they can figure out where they are on that cycle, and then come up from there.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure I'll link that in there so they can check it out.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's been inspired by this and they just want to have a chat or check out your work or anything like that, where can they find you?
So, unlike most trainers, I've got my own private company, which is my private, where I see people, which is Karl Smith, Karl Smith, hypnotherapy.com or .co.uk. And then I've got the UK Hypnosis Academy, that one there. UK Hypnosis Academy. I'm contactable there. There's plenty of videos on my YouTube channel. There's over 120 videos on my YouTube channel that you can go watch and do it in your own leisure, or leisure, as I found out down here. So it's leisure, and it's like niche as well. You don't say niche properly, do you? It's niche.
I say niche.
Oh, do you say niche, do you? It's the Americans, they've got it wrong. So anyway, yeah. So but basically, there's plenty of videos on there. There's post-trauma videos on there. There's stress videos on there, and on the YouTube channel, that Peppa Pig thing as well is on there as well. So that'd be a good place for people to go. But no, my job's to educate you.
Excellent.
My job's.
Well, I think you've educated a fair few people here today. I'm sure somebody at least out there has been educated.
Well, the way that I look at it is, and it might sound a little bit corny, but as long as one person gets something out of it, I've done something. We've done something.
That's what I'm doing this for.
Boom.
So thank you heaps for coming on today.
No, thank you, my man. Thank you.